Welcome to WHRO's Weekly Edition. I'm Jordan Christie.
And I'm Barry Graham.
We highlight the week's news and stories happening all over Hampton Roads. In this week's program, it's been a bit of a lingering issue, but the Norfolk School Board finally settled on a plan to close several elementary schools at a special meeting this week. We'll have an update on the next steps.
AI chatbots and LLMs are popular among Gen Z university and college students. Experts are concerned that more and more of them in Hampton Roads are using the bots for emotional support.
The bots have the knowledge, but they don't have the human connection piece, which is really needed.
And the Army Corps of Engineers plans to restore sinking wetlands that have plagued parts of Virginia Beach. It's WHRO's Weekly Edition. The Norfolk School Board created its own closure plan at a special meeting Monday. The board will bring it to the City Council in October as the final version. WHRO's Michelle Hankerson reports.
The district hired a consulting firm to create several closure options. Some school board members made their own plans, and during a special meeting, the board painstakingly made its own plan. School Board Chair Sarah D. Calogero said during the meeting the goal wasn't to take a vote after working on the proposal for 4 hours.
It needs to get out into the community, and we need to get community feedback on whatever it is that we are seriously committing. And it's not fair to the community to take a vote on something that we have just worked through this evening.
The board's plan would close Willoughby Early Education Center and Norview Elementary next school year. In the 2027 school year, Terrellton and Granby Elementary schools, as well as the Ghent School, would close. PB Young Elementary would close that year if redevelopment of the neighborhood Young Terrace stays on its intended timeline. Michelle Hankerson, WHRO News.
A note, Norfolk Public Schools is a member of HRETA, which holds WHRO's license.
The Navy's top leader in the Pacific spoke at Old Dominion University on Monday. WHRO military reporter Steve Walsh reports it's part of a wide-ranging discussion on the U.S.'s role in the world.
Admiral Sam Paparo spoke before a packed house at the Waldo Lecture Series, where he took questions from the audience, which included Army and Navy leaders. The discussion ranged from whether the U.S. has the resolve to fight if China invaded Taiwan to the importance of journalists and the First Amendment in a free society. There were also concerns over the consequences of recalling top generals and admirals to Quantico for a speech by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth early Tuesday morning. Under an agreement set up last year, the head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Fleet appeared under Chatham House rule, which does not allow specific comments to be attributed to the speakers. Steve Walsh, WHRO News.
Some Peninsula residents are wondering who will pick up their recycling. WHRO's Toby Cox says the concerns come after the regional authority who handles that abruptly ended its curbside recycling contract.
Tidewater Fiber Corporation has picked up recycling in James City County, York County, Poquoson, and Williamsburg since 2018, but the regional authority says it decided to end its contract with TFC after the company failed to meet expectations, including skipping pickups and damaging property. Curbside recycling for James City County and York County will end October 1st. Williamsburg says its curbside recycling program won't be affected. Poquoson tells WHRO it entered into an emergency contract with TFC to continue picking up recycling as normal through the end of November. Each city and county is coming up with its own short-term recycling plans. For most residents, this will mean taking recyclables to the nearest drop-off center. Toby Cox, WHRO News.
A family wants to open up their home motocross track in rural Virginia Beach, but they need a permit first. WHRO's John Doucette takes us to the racetrack.
Mark and Summer Brown own Wild Acres Farm. They want approval for a track to train racers like their 7-year-old son Dayton. Mark Brown says young riders need a place to learn.
It's kind of like the T-ball of motocross world. So just those beginning steps, just learning those fundamentals and stuff at a small age.
Barbara Henley represents the area on City Council. She says a business like this on agricultural land could create a precedent. The council plans to consider the request in October. John Doucette, WHRO News.
Virginia's campaign finance laws are unique because they allow candidates to spend campaign funds pretty much however they want. WVTF's Brad Kuttner was at a recent Board of Elections meeting where a long-awaited ban on personal spending passed its first regulatory hurdle.
Introduced it 12 years ago naively thinking, oops, hey, look, I found this oversight. You guys want to fix it, don't you? And it started a 12-year odyssey to finally get something passed.
That's Fairfax Delegate Marcus Simon talking about his long-running effort to close Virginia's personal use of campaign spending loophole. Governor Glenn Youngkin signed his bill into law earlier this year, and the State Board of Elections unanimously approved regulations to end the practice at their September meeting. The new language pretty much mirrors a similar personal use ban in federal campaign finance laws. A list of specifically banned spending was included, but an advisory opinion system is expected to fill in gaps when candidates ask what's allowed or not. Senator Jennifer Boysko, another Northern Virginia official, waited for her own kids to graduate high school before running for office. Another longtime advocate for closing the personal use loophole, she worked to make sure there was a carve-out for candidates to spend funds on daycare or care for older adults.
There have been very few women in the General Assembly. We see more women entering that, but that also comes with a cost for family care time because women are the primary caregivers quite often.
Anyone who follows elections knows trying to slap an opponent with an alleged campaign finance spending scandal could impact a final vote. But Simon said there's safeguards in place.
There's only so much you can do in writing a law to account for deliberate misuse. The answer for a dozen years was we just won't have any prohibition at all. I don't know that was the right answer either.
Approval of the regulations was the first step in the process. The new prohibition on personal use of campaign funds won't go into effect until the 2027 election cycle. In Richmond, I'm Brad Kuttner.
Still ahead on Weekly Edition, William and Mary researchers studied the state of ospreys around Chesapeake Bay. We'll share their findings. But first, Virginia's Wildlife Action Plan was recently updated for the first time in a decade. WHRO's Katherine Hefner reports it's a refresh that is required by Congress.
State officials use the plan to assess which species are most in need of conservation out of a huge variety of wildlife.
Everything from the smallest bugs to the biggest trees.
That's Jeff Trollinger with the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. He says they found about 1,900 species that are endangered or losing population. For the first time, that includes plants, plus more insects and marine mammals than in the past. Trollinger says the goal is to help guide future action at the local level.
If you can find those habitat areas that support the largest number of species of greatest conservation need, you can focus your resources there and get more return on investment.
He says threats to wildlife include development, invasive species, climate change, and even data centers. Katherine Hefner, WHRO News.
More college students in Hampton Roads are leaning on AI chatbots for emotional support. WHRO health reporter Yiqing Wang details how that has some experts concerned.
Students at Old Dominion University are using AI chatbots to cope with the stress of adjusting to college, according to Joy Himmel, the school's counseling director. The chatbots provide instant and accessible companionship, but Himmel warns they lack clear rules on how data is collected and shared, and they rely on mined information that may only offer best guess advice based on its data set.
The bots have the knowledge, but they don't have the understanding piece. They don't have the human connection piece, which is really needed.
A Virginia Health Department survey found mental health is the #1 concern among professionals and community stakeholders. A new crisis center opened earlier this month in Norfolk to provide more in-person support. Yiqing Wang, WHRO News.
Before a new Virginia law limited access to data from local traffic surveillance cameras, images of license plates and vehicles were widely shared across the country. Kunle Falayi with the Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism reports just how far the information went.
Bridgewater, Virginia, is a small town with a low crime rate. It installed 5 flock traffic surveillance cameras. Data from the automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs, was fed into a nationwide network. Police from around the country accessed the data from the Bridgewater's cameras, including license plates and vehicle types, nearly 7 million times in a single year, according to an analysis by VCIG at WHRO. Michael Seufer, a lawyer with the Institute of Justice, says the public needs stronger protection against the arbitrary use of surveillance cameras.
Everyday people shouldn't have to live in an environment where they know that they're being spied on by the police.
The Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police says ALPRs are important investigative tools. Kunle Falai, the Virginia Center for Investigative Journalism at WHRO.
William and Mary researchers recently conducted a massive study of ospreys around the Chesapeake Bay. WHRO's Catherine Hafner breaks down the state of ospreys in the area.
The team observed more than 1,000 osprey pairs at 23 sites throughout the bay and its tributaries. In areas with more fresh water, they found that ospreys are doing quite well. But most of the bay is saltier, and in those areas, the birds are struggling. Brian Watts with William & Mary's Center for Conservation Biology says those numbers are out of balance.
If we continue on the road we're on right now, it's pretty clear that they will decline and disappear from certain parts of the bay.
Salinity itself doesn't affect the ospreys. Watts uses it as a proxy for the different kinds of fish that live in those areas, like menhaden. He believes ospreys can't find enough to eat. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
7 homes on the Outer Banks collapsed this week. 5 of the homes fell within 45 minutes of each other on Tuesday afternoon. WHRO's Michelle Hankerson reports.
Cape Hatteras National Seashore wrote in a statement all 6 homes were unoccupied when they collapsed. The beachfront from northern Buxton through off-road vehicle ramp 43 is closed. Off-road vehicle drivers using ramp 38 should avoid traveling south, and anyone using ramp 43 should avoid going north. 18 homes have collapsed on Hatteras Island since 2020. The problem is more common because rising sea levels cause beachfront erosion and climate change leads to more severe storms. The National Park Service bought and demolished 2 homes in nearby Rodanthe in 2023 as part of a program to move people away from the beachfront. That program hasn't received additional funding to purchase more homes. Michelle Hankerson, WHRO News.
When the U.S. fought a 20-year war in Afghanistan, thousands of Afghans fought alongside them. They served as interpreters, engineers, and in other roles, and they now face the threat of retribution from the Taliban. The U.S. promised to help many of those Afghans come to America, but some are now caught up in President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Andrew Dyer reports for the American Homefront Project.
Mohammed Rahimi was an attorney in Afghanistan when he began working with the U.S. Army 15 years ago. He eventually came to the U.S. and became an American citizen. Now he heads Afghan Family Services, a San Diego nonprofit.
The real face of immigrants, and especially Afghan immigrants, they're people who supported this country. Before coming to the United States, they fought against our enemies.
About 200,000 Afghans have come to the U.S. Some received special immigrant visas that provide a path to permanent residency. Others were given humanitarian parole or temporary protected status. Thousands more are still waiting to come, many of them relatives of people already here.
So these people came to the country in a rush system. Some of them left their wives behind. Some of them left their husbands behind. Some of them left their kids behind.
After President Trump took office, his administration scaled back programs to help those people. While it's still issuing some special immigrant visas, it halted refugee resettlement, ended temporary protected status, and imposed a travel ban on Afghanistan.
So now the majority of these Afghans who came to the United States but left part of their families in Afghanistan, they are hopeless, they're voiceless, and they're unsupported.
The White House also has asked Congress to defund Operation Enduring Welcome, the Biden administration's Afghan resettlement initiative. And it shut down the Afghan Relocation Office in the State Department.
It's a gut punch because you look at all this work that was done over the course of the last few years.
Until this year, Jessica Bradley Rushing was a deputy director in that office, the State Department's coordinator for Afghan relocation efforts, better known as CARE.
I know people whose cases were right at the finish line on January 20th. And now their families are stuck in Afghanistan and they don't know when or if they'll ever be reunited.
A senior White House official said the administration is committed to protecting Afghans, but also cited a need to ensure rigorous security standards. And the president suggested in July that some Afghans already in the U.S. pose a threat.
We know the good ones and we know the ones that maybe aren't so good. Some came over that aren't so good. And we're going to take care of those people, the ones that did a job, the ones that were told certain things.
Advocates dispute the idea that the resettlement effort is a security threat. Sean Van Diver is co-founder of nonprofit Afghan EVAC.
Enduring Welcome is by miles and miles the safest, most secure legal immigration program in our country's history.
Van Diver says the Biden administration processed thousands of special immigrant visas each week, while the Trump administration says the current weekly number is in the hundreds. Meanwhile, with the end of the temporary protected status, Afghans already in the U.S. have no assurance they'll be allowed to stay. The White House says they can request asylum, but Rahimi notes that asylum seekers have been arrested outside immigration court.
I have conversations with many Afghan members that they are asking me that they have their appointment, but how can they go to their appointments, finish the appointment, and leave the courthouse safely without being detained? We have no answer.
Basically, what's going to happen is we're going to show our IDs.
In San Diego last month, more than a dozen U.S. military veterans showed up in court to support an Afghan at his immigration hearing. Marine veteran Jonathan Liu was one of them.
I believe this is important work that we're doing as far as standing by the allies who stood by us. We shouldn't be turning their backs on them.
Several major veterans groups are supporting bipartisan legislation in Congress that would provide a path to permanent residency for many Afghans already in the U.S. It also would expand and extend the opportunities for more Afghans to come. I'm Andrew Dyer in San Diego.
Rainwater is an easy-to-access, reusable resource, but not enough people utilize it. So, a Newport News auto shop owner recently launched a nonprofit to help more Virginians use rainwater. WHRO's Catherine Hefner checked out his first project.
Tyrone, Jarvis, and a handful of volunteers are hard at work at Purpose Park in Norfolk. They are at a former vacant lot turned into a community garden by local teenagers a few years ago. Jarvis with Go Green Auto Care is a passionate advocate of rainwater harvesting. He's here at the park to transform 2 shipping containers for that purpose.
We decided to give it a sloped roof, metal and wood, and make it look sort of like a tiny home.
When rain falls, it'll flow inside the containers to tanks that each hold 550 gallons. The captured water will then help irrigate the surrounding garden using a solar-powered pump. Jarvis hopes to replicate projects like this all across Virginia. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
Despite its name, Norfolk International Airport hasn't hosted international flights in decades, but soon the airport will offer new flights to Mexico. WHRO's Toby Cox breaks down the details.
Hampton Roads residents planning a trip to Cancun, Mexico will no longer have to drive to Richmond or Dulles to get there. The Norfolk Airport Authority announced airline carrier Breeze will offer 1 nonstop flight a week to and from Cancun starting January 10th, 2026. Flights will leave Norfolk early in the afternoon on Saturdays with a return flight around 9 p.m. Saturday evenings.
Cancun has been ORF's top international destination every year for the last 11 years, and as soon people can make that trip without having to go through a connection at another airport.
That's airport CEO Mark Perryman. He says tickets are on sale now for $139 each way. Officials say other international destinations are on the horizon. Toby Cox, WHRO News.
Universities in Hampton Roads are responding to a new federal bill designed to ease the nursing shortage. WHRO health reporter I-Ching Wang reports.
The Train More Nurses Act directs federal agencies to review all grant programs supporting the nurse workforce, recommends changes to help veteran nurses move into teaching, and expands ways for nurses to progress in their careers. Virginia Wesleyan University Provost Deirdre Gonzalez-Jackson says the bill may help ease the nursing shortage, but higher salaries are needed to draw veteran nurses into teaching.
We need these faculty. We need to increase the number of these faculty to have these nursing programs so that we can, in the end, produce more nurses that we then need to go into the workforce.
A new partnership between the school and Centera Health will bring the Centera College of Health Sciences to the campus in 2026. That will include a nursing program. Old Dominion University is expanding its nursing school while working to secure more clinical training opportunities for students. I-Ching Wang, WHRO News.
Virginia law requires the Commonwealth to collect and report data on abortions that occur in the state. And while that data is usually sent to the Centers for Disease Control to be included in an annual report, WVTF's Brad Kuttner found out the agency is no longer accepting the data, and the annual report may not be released.
Back in December, the CDC sent a routine email to Virginia Department of Vital Statistics asking for the state's abortion data. It's been common practice since the agency started collecting the data in 1969. But when an email was sent from Virginia statisticians to the CDC asking for an update on the need for state data, the agency offered an unusual reply. At this time, CDC is pausing data analysis and will not be releasing an abortion surveillance report, reads the unsigned email from the federal agency acquired via a FOIA request from the Virginia Department of Health. Requests to the CDC for clarity on the future of data collection were not returned. Notably, Project 2025, the ultra-conservative plan to remake the federal government, specifically says abortion data must continue to be collected from the states. That may be why the Conservative Family Foundation of Virginia was surprised to hear federal abortion data collection had ceased. The state and federal government have a vested interest in collecting this data, Family Foundation head Victoria Cobb said in an email. In Richmond, I'm Brad Kuttner.
The Army Corps of Engineers plans to restore wetlands that are sinking in Virginia Beach. WHRO's Catherine Heffner has the details.
The new project is part of a years-long effort to restore the Lynnhaven River ecosystem. The Army Corps already built new marshes behind Princess Anne High School and is working on more in the SeaTac area. Biologist Gina Dodolo says this third phase will help existing wetlands that are degrading at the southern tip of Pleasure House Point.
Over time, sediment changing and sea level change has caused subsidence in the center of the island. The vegetation that used to be there has disappeared, and now it's totally mudflat.
The Corps plans to boost about 6.5 acres by adding sand dredged nearby and planting native grasses. They hope to start in 2028. It's separate from the city's project that cleared trees to build wetlands at Pleasure House Point. Catherine Hafner, WHRO News.
The public can submit comments about the project through October 24th. Go to WHRO.org to learn more.
A blind collaboration between 10 artists creates a mosaic of watercolors called the Symphony of Susans at Norfolk Botanical Garden. Kate Nowak reports for WHRO.
10 artists selected a 2-by-2-foot panel to paint. When put together, the panels make up a mismatched botanical scene that combines the different styles and interpretations from each artist. The project's creator, Charles Francis, kept the final product a secret until the grand reveal so that the artists would not be influenced by each other. The collaboration is both a spectacular display of watercolors and also an educational tool for artists. Here's artist Lynn Frailing.
What I love about this collaboration is that you can look at this as a novice, you can look at this as a painter, you can look at this as a botanical person, because all those elements exist within the variety.
The Symphony of Susans exhibition is on display through the end of the year. Kate Nowak, WHRO News.
A Virginia Beach couple earned this year's Small Farmer of the Year award. The honor comes from Virginia State University's Small Farm Outreach Program. WHRO's John Doucette has more.
Sharon Creekmore Mosley's parents founded Creekmore's Place in the 1960s. It's still a popular produce business at the Virginia Beach Farmers Market. Mosley and her husband, Dion, run the business, and they also started a microfarm called Creekmore's Place at Indian River. They run a second market and grow crops such as strawberries, garlic, and squash.
We really want to be a neighborhood farmers market here so that people that live around have somewhere to come and get fresh fruits and vegetables.
The award will be presented in Norfolk on October 17th. John Doucette, WHRO News.
You've been listening to WHRO's Weekly Edition. We had help today from WHRO's Michelle Hankerson, I-Ching Wang, Catherine Hafner, Steve Walsh, Toby Cox, Kate Nowak, and John Doucette. Kunle Falayi with VCIJ at WHRO and WVTF's Brad Kuttner. Also Connor Worley, who produced today's show.
A reminder that you can always catch full episodes on the Weekly Edition podcast feed. You can get your news updates at WHRO.org and the WHRO Reports podcast feed. For all of us at WHRO and WHRV, I'm Barry Graham.
And I'm Jordan Christie. Have a great weekend.